Hello. We're back again for another episode on Buck's Paranormal Podcast. My name is Buck. I am joined here today with Alan.
Hiya.
Alan's a paranormal investigator. He's part of a team. We're on the same team, actually, which is quite interesting. We can talk about later on. But he's also a self-proclaimed skeptic. So, just to start us off, Alan, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are. I know you openly say yourself that you are a skeptic, but you're also a paranormal investigator. Now, many investigators wouldn't say they are skeptics. So, how would you say you different from the rest? And how can you be one and the other, or do you think you can be both? Can you not be both?
I think being a skeptic is really important, and I think it's quite important that someone on a paranormal investigation team is a skeptic. They just bring a different viewpoint to a lot of the things that we're sort of looking out for whilst we're investigating. You know, I feel like one of the things I do in with any piece of evidence we get whilst out on an investigation, I'm always looking for reasons to debunk it and thinking of reasonable explanations as to why we've got that piece of evidence. And I think if your team is just full of people that believe, there probably is a place for that. But for me personally, I think if your team's full of people that believe, what's going to happen is you're going to that evidence as if it's really concrete, and you're going to say, "Oh, this is absolute categoric proof of the paranormal," when actually there could be like a reasonable explanation that's been overlooked by people in your team. So I think it brings a bit like almost a sense of trying to think of the right word, like a sense of validity to anything we do find. You know, if I'm there trying everything I can to try and debunk everything and I can't, to me that sort of increases the validity of the things that we're finding.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think every paranormal investigator should be a skeptic. That's my personal views. Otherwise, if you're saying 100% this is actual fact, it's like if a spirit emerges in front of me now, just I can see the face, see the dress, clothing, whatever, right in front of me. Even though that's 100% valid proof to me, unless someone else has stood next to me, I should still be skeptical. What if that's something playing in my mind or something's happening? I don't know. Just because I'm seeing it doesn't mean it's actually there.
Yeah.
So I think it's very hard for someone to say I 100% fully, are a believer as such. Which I'm more on the believer side than I'm on the skeptical side. I think you mentioned the other day to me, didn't you, that you was having a chat about it and you said that you would class yourself as a believer now.
Yeah, I'd say certainly my opinions have changed with some of the things that I've witnessed and seen on investigations. I have always considered myself a skeptic, and even now, I've still got that skeptical side of me. But I've seen things that I can't explain that have made me think that maybe there is something beyond our living world.
No, yeah, I think there's got to be something. Even if there's not, I always say to people, it's nice to have something to believe in. It's nice to think there's something after this.
Yeah.
You don't want to just imagine yourself that's it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we'll jump into that more so later on. But next question I want to ask you is what would you say would be your scariest or most unexplainable experience that you've ever had so far? Be it within a team, be it when you was a child. What do you remember really?
So we were investigating the old Graiseley Hall in Wolverhampton, and we were doing some. We were stood in front of a mirror, doing some calling out in front of a mirror, and I just felt this like burning sensation on my cheek. And we were doing it all lights out in the dark, and then when the lights come on, I'd got a scratch mark on my cheek from where I'd felt this burning sensation. So yeah, to me, I was like, okay, there's no explanation for that. Nobody touched me in that time.
Did you ask like spirit or anything to touch you or let you know they're there, or did you call it out? Did you request it as such?
I'd called out spirit and I'd said, I'd said something like, if you're able to make me feel your presence, then please do so. And that's when I started to get this sort of tingling on my cheek that then became like a burning sensation.
Sorry. Okay, so you were calling out for spirits, and so basically you potentially could have welcomed it to touch you and army. Yeah. Did anything else happen like later on that night? Did you feel that you was being followed, or something was attached to you at all?
No, I didn't, to be honest. That was quite a significant event that had happened that night. And again, like the skeptic in me was trying to explain it in lots of different ways and just couldn't think of any rational or reasonable explanation for it. That particular night, I think it had been quite a quiet night up until that point. We've investigated Graiseley Hall a few times.
Yeah.
And we find some nights it's really, really active there. We get loads of evidence. Other nights it's really quiet. And this was a particularly quiet night. But obviously this really stood out because this was like the one real strong piece of evidence that we got, and we got virtually nothing else for the rest of the night.
Mad. So would you say, like you said, you've been there quite a few times?
Yeah.
Have you found that something always happened, like for you personally, every visit you've been there? And also mentioning about where you had that scratch looking into that mirror, have you felt anything around that same area or that same room? Have you felt, so as something felt like it's, what's the wording for it? Have you felt like there's a pattern in certain areas of that for you? Or
well, this was in the. I know you're familiar with Graiseley Old Hall.
Yeah.
This is in one of the downstairs lounge rooms. There's the two main ones, isn't there? They're sort of next door to each other. As you go through the front door, this is the one on the right that's got the connecting door to the kitchen.
Okay. Yeah.
So we were in that room, and we've held a seance in there at other times and felt and got some really good stuff come through. And one particular time we held a seance there, and we'd planned. I was going to go down to the cellar because I've always been quite drawn to the cellar at Graiseley. Every time we go, I always want to go and do something in there.
It's one place I've never really spent time in, the cellar.
I quite like it. It's definitely really creepy to go down there, especially if you're going down there on your own and all the lights are on.
I've been down there, but I think because obviously I always used to live stream because you get no signal down there. I'll just kind of give that one a miss, but next time I definitely will.
Well, we were holding a seance at the time, and I said, I'm feeling really drawn to the cellar. I'm going to go down to the cellar, and I want you guys around the table to send me a 2-digit number. Ask Spirit to me, and whilst I'm in there, I'll have a look for anything and call out to Spirit. And I'd got like a voice recorder and everything with me as well to see if we could pick up anything sort of later on. But I didn't know what the number was. That was the key piece of information. So, with a 2-digit number, there's 100 possibilities. You got 00 and then 1 to 99. So downstairs, I've gone into the cellar, like I say, and I'm not really feeling anything. I'm calling out. I've got my voice recorder on. I'm down there probably 5 minutes or so. I've played my voice recordings back to see if I can hear anything by ear on them, and I can't hear anything. And I'm just having a sort of last scoop around the room before I'm going to head back up. And there was like where the brickwork is, at the furthest point of the cellar you can go into. It's like an arched ceiling, but it's made of brick. And there was 2 little gaps in the mortar between the bricks, and one of them, I weren't sure if it was a 1 or a 7, and the other one was definitely in the shape of a 7. So I was like, well, it's either 17 or 77. That's the only thing I'd gotten sort of the whole probably down there 10 minutes in.
Definitely not 6-7. No.
Definitely not 6-7. No. It was either 17 or 77. And I was like, okay, so that's the only thing I've got. And I was like, it's just some gaps in the brickwork. Like, this is just like, this isn't anything paranormal.
So you saw it like in the wall, like a marking in the wall, was it?
It wasn't like a marking. It was like, obviously it's quite an old structure. But like when the mortars wore away between the bricks.
Yeah.
It was that, like there was bits of mortar that had like dropped out or were missing or had sort of come away over time. And like I say, one of them looked like, I couldn't work out if it was a 1 or a 7, but the other one was definitely a 7. Went back upstairs to the seance. They'd sort of closed off the seance and sort of they'd got the lights on and everything. And and I walked in, and I remember Ricky was sat down. You know, Ricky you've had on before.
Yeah.
He was sat down at the table, and I remember I walked in. I was like, they said, "Did you get anything?" I was like, "Not really. I've got something, but it's a little bit sort of dodgy. Like it was just where there was some gaps in the brick, but it looked like either 17 or 77." And he just went, "Fuck off!" Stood up and walked out the room. And on the piece of paper in front of him, 77 was written down.
Really?
So
was that the last time you went there?
No, I think we've been since.
Have you checked since then, see if you could see that number down there again or anything? Like,
do you know, I've not thought to do that, but it's certainly a place I'll be going back to at some point in the future. So
it'd be interesting because obviously it might just be like pareidolia where you've noticed it looks that way at that time, but obviously it's strange that you said that number going back up there. I just wondered if like you'd go back down and you'd see the same thing again, or if your eyes would see something else this time around.
Yeah,
worth checking out.
Definitely next time I go back, I'll have another look.
Yeah. Now, well, that's a bit spooky. Next thing I want to say is, do you think that your skepticism could harm your investigations as an investigator? So let's say something moved past you. Would you say, "Oh, shadow," and move on? Or do you think you'd look into more of it, or what could that have been? Or like, how would your skeptic head work?
I think it really depends on what the situation is there. That's a really tough one to sort of,
It's like some investigators believe too easily, but then some skeptics dismiss too easily as well.
Yeah.
So where do you draw the line?
I think it'd depend on like the situation. If we're in a house and it's sort of like I don't know, say it's like 9 p.m. and it's dark outside, but it's on a main road, and I just saw a shadow go past, I might go, well, like maybe a car was driving past with its headlights on as that shadow went past. So it's going to depend on a lot of factors, really.
Well, even in that scenario, though, would you say that you being more skeptical would do exactly what you just said? Oh, probably a car going past and just carry on your day. Or would me be more of a paranormal investigator, more so that side of it, be like, what was that? And then I think I'd be like, it could have been a car, but what if it wasn't? Should we set up some cat balls and get the K2s, and just see if we pick anything up? Would you think now that you'd say are you more intrigued to do that sort of thing, like investigate that area, or would you still think of shadow? Move on.
I think I'd definitely want to investigate anything that I couldn't reasonably explain. Obviously, if I've not seen a car go past, if we're using that example, then I'd say, oh, it could have been a car, but let's get some equipment out. Let's hold a seance or start calling out, or do something in this area because we've got some evidence. I also rely quite heavily on my sort of gut feeling.
Okay.
Like, and it's something I've noticed a lot of people within my team do. You tend to just sort of get a feel whilst you're at a place. So, or you feel like you're being drawn to a particular part of it. Like when you're investigating, say, Graiseley, you feel like you're drawn to a particular room or a particular part of the house. And, I always like doing sort of repeat visits to places to see if I'm drawn to the same places. Because I feel like every time I've gone to Graiseley, apart from the cellar, which I always feel drawn to, I'm always finding that different parts of the place are more active than others.
I'm like that with most places. Like, I think it's me more emotionally, though. Like, I can walk around everywhere totally fine, laughing, joking, and walk into one room and boom, I just want to cry. Do you know what I mean? Just like get that hits me hard. As for Graiseley, I've not really felt that, to be fair. I think I've only been 2-3 times, though. But I've not really felt that feeling yet. I think the upstairs room with is it the one where the 2 beds are in the far right-hand corner?
Yeah.
I felt a bit like something's there, but I've not felt nothing's drawn me to anywhere in Graiseley at the moment. But again, I've not spent time down the cellar really.
Yeah, and like I say, I find every time I go there, I get a different experience. I've been and it's felt like it's been super active. Lots of different things in lots of different places, and then other times I've been and we've had like a really quiet night and got virtually nothing, and essentially just enjoyed each other's company all night.
That's what it should be, though. They're not performing monkeys, are they? Spirits should, when they want to come out, they'll come out.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Me and Ricky was on Black Country Radio yesterday, and we was talking about it there and just saying, you can't force them to act up. People expect too much.
Yeah.
People are expecting stuff every time. 9 times out of 10, you shouldn't really get nothing happening.
No.
You're lucky if you catch a random cat ball flick off. Do you know what I mean? Or something on the EVP.
Yeah.
You shouldn't get nothing happening. The fact that people do is good. It proves that they're investigating right. They're actually catching the right things. So yeah, I think that brings me on to the next point, which I'd wanted to ask as well was we were talking about you being like a skeptic. That's the main part of this podcast, really, about your skepticism size of it. So, at what point does skepticism become denial?
What do you mean? Can you
Because it's like
phrase that at all?
a lot of skeptics, not yourself, because you like the investigations, you're an investigator, you go out and about, but a lot of skeptics are purely like, no, I don't believe it's all rubbish, whatever. So at what point what would have to happen for someone like that to be like, it's actually there? Or do you think even if they saw something walk past them, they're still just being denial and just brush it off?
I think that's going to depend on a person by person basis, but I've certainly met people that are very, very skeptical and outright don't believe anything. And I actually feel if like the spectre of their dead mother appeared in front of them and told them that they needed to tidy their bedroom and sort out the marriage, they still would be like, no, it was just made playing tricks on me. I'd eaten a dodgy curry and it's made me hallucinate or something. Like,
did you ever think that you'd come out of your skepticism and be a bit more open to what you am now? Did you ever think that would happen for you?
Do you know what? I took an interest in it because, like I say, I am a skeptic, but I did have a couple of experiences as a child that made me think, although I'm a skeptic, maybe there is something more out there.
Okay. No, because there's got to be something else.
Yeah.
People are foolish not to believe that there's something after all this.
And like I say, the main focus of my skepticism is, you watch like the TV shows about it all, and there's 10 people and a camera crew in a room, and they hear a knock outside the door, and you're like, okay, well, there's various crew members on a TV show. Anyone could do that. So I think my skepticism comes from watching like shows like Most Haunted and stuff like that.
Which has been proven to be fake.
Yeah, and going, like, all that stuff, like it could just be dramatized for TV, fabricated for TV.
It does say that in the titles. Like if people read the credits, it says like, for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah.
They're taking true stories that people have passed down and pushing them out like to create a movie, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, and I've always thought as well, like we're in a really digital age now. We've got CCTV up and down the country, in every major building, every shop, every business. And people have got smartphones with cameras on, and we're taking photos of everything all the time. And no one's ever turned and gone, here is absolute 100% categoric proof of a spectre, of a ghost, of something like that. And anytime someone does claim to have something, there's always some kind of explanation or
it's not there.
Dismissed as to, that's the shadow of someone walking past the window or something. So I've always thought that sort of helped me be a little bit more skeptical, because I've always had that sort of, something would have been captured. But like I say,
so good. Sorry, I was going to say, jumping onto that point that you mentioned there, I think a lot of things that you've watched on, you do see on YouTube and stuff, a lot of them are caught by CCTV.
Yeah.
A lot of things that happens in stores, main companies, even news outlets and stuff like that. Shut up, if you hear snoring, it's my pug. A lot of them, I think the companies don't want them aired. They don't want that attention brought to them. So, sorry, I just need to cough again. Sorry, I got like a hair in my throat. So, coming back to something that I've not mentioned to anyone, I'm 35 now. When I was about 20, I was deputy manager at a store called B&M Bargains, Brolly. And can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
And something was caught on camera overnight. Something set off our alarms. I only lived down the road, so I had the key to go up there and set the alarms and whatever. And upon reviewing the security cameras the next day with a security guard, we've got there's like an alcohol aisle with all the glass bottles and all that on the shelves, and hanging down in between the shelves, you had like bottle openers and stuff, pick up items as you go around the stores. So imagine that's a straight shelf. On this camera, well, we didn't know till the next morning what set off the alarm because we didn't actually go around properly. Nothing was broken into. But there was a smashed bottle on the floor. Checked back on the camera, so something's obviously slipped off. Middle of the night, about 2-3 o'clock, no one else in the building at all. We see these bottle openers swing 90 degrees up, stand like that, drop back down. That's not the bottle off the shelf. That was on camera. We had to send it off to head office, and you never heard from it again.
Wow.
They just denied having it and everything, and it was all wiped off our systems and everything. So it was me, my store manager at the time, which I'm sure he'd be able to say something about it as well, and the security guard at the time. We all know that happened, which then brings me back to what we were saying just now, where I believe that a lot of stuff does get caught on CCTV, but companies obviously do not want the attention. Which I don't know why, because you'd think it would bring a lot more people around and
might turn a lot of people away. Might turn a lot of people away because I know certainly with people that aren't necessarily as into it as us investigators. That I think there's a lot of. I think horror films have got a lot to answer for.
Definitely.
There's a lot of taboo around the subject, and if you mess with spirits, you're
especially
the
board and all that over the years, and it's all from horror movies.
Yeah, and one of my best experiences is on a board, and I've never had any issue with using the spirit board, and it is literally just it's horror films that give it that sort of that negative connotation.
That's something else we was talking about on the radio yesterday as well about. I was saying to Ian, the host, that with the boards, normally it's the stories you hear how bad they are from like the older generation. And that's because they've probably got some experience when they were younger, and they remember all this chair falling over, and as the years go on, that chair went flying across the room, and then that building set on fire because that chair went flying across the room. And I think the older you get, the more you just remember something happening. And it's like a Chinese whispers type of thing for the boards itself. But I've used them for years, never had no issues myself. But I've always been with someone that knows how to open and close them and use them properly. But again, we was talking about it yesterday, and Ricky was saying that he's done it many times where no one's opened it, no one's closed it, and he's never had no issues either. So it's what you believe, really, I suppose. And until you've experienced something, you can say.
Yeah, of course. And do you mind if I talk a little bit about my experience on the board?
Yeah, Karen.
This
was that when was I there? Was that the one?
I can't remember if it was the one where you were there. I think it might have been.
I think I was. I remember something happening to you on the board.
Yeah, so this was one of my first investigations, and it was my first time ever using a board. And I can say hand on heart, everybody who was there knew me either as Alan or Mike. They didn't know my surname. And we were on the board, and we asked if the spirit that was coming through was drawn to anyone, went straight to yes. We asked it to indicate who it was being drawn to, and the glass come towards me. So at that point, I come off the board, and I became the one asking the questions. And I asked some trivial yes/no questions to try and ascertain what could have been happening, and it became apparent quite quickly that it was my grandfather on my mum's side of the family.
Yeah, I was there. I remember it now.
It was, yeah. I weren't 100% sure, so I didn't want to commit to that as an answer. But yeah, it was quite apparent quite quickly that it was my grandfather on my mother's side that was coming through the spirit board. So I was then like, okay, well, this could just be someone having some educated guesses. This could be, as a skeptic, I'm always thinking, a bit of foul play, is someone manipulating the glass, all of that. Yeah. And then I asked if it could provide the initials of the person. Now, I hadn't said anything to anyone about who I suspected it was on the board. I hadn't said anything about even names, details, anything of anyone. I just asked lots of simple yes/no questions, which led me to believe it was me grandfather. And then I asked it to spell out the initials, and it spat out the initials, which was really, really quite scary and a massive piece of evidence.
As in your initials, or was it your granddad's?
No, my granddad's initials. And like I say,
no one would have known that.
No one there knew my granddad's first name. No one there knew my last name. And it was my granddad on my mother's side, so it was a different last name to mine as well. So even if they knew my last name and were guessing, there's no way they'd have guessed. So that, to me, that was the first time I suddenly went, okay, I'm now dipping into the believer side of things. You know, that is really, really difficult evidence to try and debunk, other than saying someone took 10 very lucky guesses in answering the yes/no questions correctly, and then putting out those two initials.
So, going back to the skeptical side of it, would you say it's possible someone could have, or is it like, no, it's just not possible that they could have known all that?
It's possible, but you're talking like a 1 in a million chance.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it would have been pure guesswork with the things I was asking. You know, I even tried to lead them down different paths, you know, like, so my grandfather died of lung cancer, and like, one of the questions I asked was, I think I said something like, did it hurt when you had the car crash or something? And I just didn't get a response then. It was something that was like completely not related whilst I was talking about the death of my grandfather. Right. So that was almost like a question to try and see if there was any foul play.
So there was no car crash. It was just
no, there was no car. Okay. My granddad died of lung cancer, and I then asked just to try and throw if there was any foul play or anything. I was like, oh, you know, did it really hurt when you had the car crash? And like, there was no movement at that point. So I was like, okay, like, you know, as a skeptic, I'm thinking if someone just goes straight to yes, then, because that's a really obvious answer there, isn't it? Oh, there was a car crash, that must have hurt. But the fact that there was no movement then, I was like, okay, this is really strange.
No, I remember it because I don't know if it was at our event or whether I was just with you guys. I remember I was filming something live and I wasn't on the table, but I remember you being there.
Yeah.
It was in that first room, wasn't it, where the sailors' boat things are on the wall and all that?
Yeah, it's like a little library room, isn't it? There's like loads of books and stuff out there.
It'd be interesting to try that again there then.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. What's the first thing you'd rule out when someone says something paranormal has happened? What's the first thing you'd rule out about that? What would you say? Could it be the windows open, or depending on what's happened, I suppose? But
yeah, it massively that depends on what happened. What's happened? You know, if someone goes, "Oh, I've just had a chill," like, okay, is there a draft coming from under one of the doors? Is there a window that's slightly ajar? Is it particularly cold anyway? Is that person just, are they stood in the cellar at Graiseley and gone, oh, this is a bit creepy, so they've had a chill run down the spine? You know, sometimes it could be something as simple as that. You know, they're feeling, oh, this is a creepy place. Oh, I've just had that chill. You know, if they're saying a shadow, I used the example earlier of, you know, or, you know, well, were they by a window and did a car go past, or, you know, anything like that. If someone claims to hear a voice, if it depends on like the clarity of the voice, you know, if it's like, oh, you know, it was, I can't think of a good example, but, you know, what word do you think you heard there? And does that sound like something else, which could be a reasonable explanation? Like scratching sounds and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, you know, is there an insect running around on the floor? You know, something as simple as that. You know,
that's why I love the EVPs. You know, just drop an EVP. Absolutely. I used to have about 4 or 5 EVPs at one point, and I'll drop into different rooms and just leave them. And you can always tell if it's picking up a background noise, or 9 times out of 10, if you caught something on EVP, it's right by it, and it's just like, hello. You know, it's that sort of like whispery almost voice.
Yeah.
So EVPs are great.
I mean, another one that I always sort of look at, we were a team of 10 at the time, and we usually split off into 2 groups of 5. and went and like investigated different areas or different parts of whatever building or location we were at.
Yeah.
And one thing I'd always try and have on my mind with any piece of evidence was, right, where's the other team? Are they potentially interfering? Perhaps
That's the thing, we're splitting up.
Like if we were downstairs in Graiseley and they were upstairs and they were supposed to be in one room, but they're getting nothing, so they've then moved to another room, and we're going, oh gosh, we can hear creaking from upstairs. My first thing then is, right, is the other team moving or are they stay put? And you don't want to go up and investigate if they're moving around up there in case they're still and you then end up interfering with their stuff. But what we'd normally do is like timestamp something. And like if we were going to move from one room to another, we'd record what time that happened. And then if we think we can hear like movement and stuff upstairs, we'd record what time that happened. And then we'd sort of compare notes when we come back together as a team at the end of the night, like, oh, we heard movement upstairs at like 10:33. What was going on? Oh, that was when Amanda popped out to go and use the toilet. Oh, okay, that's explained then. But at 10:37 we heard this. Oh no, we had nothing at 10:37. So, I think the recording side of things is really important. I always take a writing pad and at least like 5 or 6 pens with me to every investigation, because I do think writing everything down, because sometimes, particularly if you've got a really busy night, a lot can happen, and by the next morning you've forgotten half.
Forgot it, yeah.
Especially if you're going somewhere till like sometimes 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're starting to get tired and bleary-eyed. Your memory goes a bit fuzzy then. So next morning you're a little bit, okay, what happened last night? So always having those notes to go back to, I think, is really helpful.
No, definitely. Well, with my equipment, I've got walkie-talkies, so we'll have them with us if we can go out and about again.
Yeah,
they're always handy to have, especially in bigger buildings.
But again, with things like the walkie-talkies, I always think, if you're taking a walkie-talkie with you and then you've got your K2 machine, if that starts to light up, you think, oh, is that because we've got the walkie-talkie in the room with us? Double check.
That's common sense. So you put it obviously the other side of the room. You only use the walkie-talkies if something's happened. Like, get up there, and you'll hear that go off, so well, I need to get up there then. It's mainly for us, and we used to do a lot of abandoned places, so it's safety more than anything.
Yeah.
As for team, you mentioned 10 people. I would not enjoy that. I wouldn't enjoy having 10 people running around me.
No.
2, 3 people, ideal for me. 6, 7, 6 people is probably like, that's a good team amount.
Yeah.
I think if you got 10, like you said, bloody events.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is why.
Yeah, and that's why.
If you're in places, then you've got to sometimes. You know what I mean? But otherwise, I think less people the better. You're ruling out all these excess noises, people seeing this, that, and different things and talking over each other.
No, absolutely, I get that. A lot. I think it depends on where you're investigating as well. Somewhere like Graiseley, where there's several rooms upstairs and then 1, 2, 3,
you got the space.
5 rooms downstairs. You have got the space to split up a team, and that's before you're even investigating the grounds around the building as well. If you were just going to investigate a smaller place, then obviously a smaller team is going to be a lot more beneficial. I always think, like, if it's a larger space and you've got more people, you've got more ground to cover, so you can do a more thorough investigation of the place. But then, as I've said before as well, like, I like to revisit places that I've been before. So there's also that aspect of it. If I don't get to cover everywhere on my first visit,
you go back.
Potentially go back and look at other places.
I mean, is it just Graiseley you've been to, or is there like another location that still bothers you, that you still think about? Have you been to many places?
So we've done Graiseley. We've done, I think it's called the Bonded Warehouse. We've only done
I was there with you on that as well, wasn't I?
Yeah, you were. I remember. Yeah. That's the only time I've done Bonded Warehouse. I'd love to go back and do it again.
And me, also.
I quite enjoyed it there. Now, I bought when I first started, I bought a set of 3 cat balls. Common equipment used by paranormal investigators. Pick it up relatively cheap as well. A lot of the equipment is quite expensive, but this was something I was like, I can pick up those quite cheap. And I had a broken one that never worked. And, I'd turned it on and I'd thrown it full pelt against the wall. I'd booted it across a room. I'd hit it with a hammer, and nothing I was doing was getting it to light up. So it was just a dodgy one that was sent to me and never worked. And I put it up on one of the beams in the upstairs of the bonded warehouse. And halfway through us calling out, that one lit up, and I'm like, okay, I'm done.
I think I was actually upstairs with you. Did we have the balloon as well or something?
Yeah, we'd got the balloon.
Yeah,
we'd got the balloon. But yeah, when that one lit up, I was like, right, I'm going downstairs. I need a break now.
Definitely. I say what I've been placing America all over the UK, abandoned. I had loads of places, and still one of my favourite ones is the Talbot Hotel in Stourbridge.
I'd love to go and do it.
I'll say it was, we were talking about this again yesterday. This is what's fresh on my mind. All the stuff we were speaking about yesterday. So the Talbot, it was owned by like a family called the Foleys in the 16th century. It was their house.
Yeah.
And I mean that it probably goes back a lot further than that. And these were like the rich people. They owned all the coal mines and iron industries around that area.
Yeah.
18th century, it then became like a coaching inn and like a hotel. And since then, it's always been a hotel as far as I'm aware. But back then, the guy who owned it in the 18th century, he must have some sort of affair with one of the chambermaids or whatever they were. She had the baby, lost the baby. He ended up burying the baby in the walls and the cellars. That's why a lot of people investigate down there.
Right.
Then he later killed her, so his wife and all that didn't know. And that's where it's known to be haunted by the Grey Lady, which is supposed to be her, or the Lady in White, something like that. And she seemed to be crying and that going down the hallways. Now, room 19 being one of the most haunted rooms there is supposed to be where she actually died. I investigated in that room, and there's a massive wardrobe by the door, and everything we put there was going mental. K2s, multiple ones just going to red. The balls just flashing non-stop. The REM pods going off all the while. And it was just like a mad active area. We checked beyond the wardrobe, checked for electrical ports. There's nothing else around there that could explain all that equipment going off. Later on in the night, we had a knock on the door, like a proper, like loud. You could tell it was the door. I went straight to the door. I was only 2 seconds from it. Opened the door. It's a long corridor. All the other rooms, you got the little green fire emergency lights on the one side.
Yeah.
And all I could see was a big black shadow, like going past each light.
Oh, wow.
Which is why I mentioned to you earlier on about the shadow that you see someone going past. Yeah. There was no windows, couldn't be no cars.
No.
None of the doors were open from other people. It was just a dark corridor, dim green lights, and that dark shadow like covering each light one at a time.
Yeah.
And that was mental. And then a couple of years after I went there, it was in the papers and on ITV News and all that. Another team of investigators actually caught it on camera from that room facing down that hallway. The last door has got like a glass pane, and on camera they saw a black shadow just walk through past the glass on the other side. And that's actually on my episode that I put onto YouTube. A clip of it as well.
Yeah, I think I remember you talking about it. I'll have to look at that clip as well.
Yeah, that was good.
On the you were mentioning there about you sort of know like quite a lot of the history of some of the places you investigate.
I didn't before I went there. I wasn't even investigating.
I was going to say, is that? I was going to say because one thing I like.
Yeah, going over
like, before you go to a place, do you do any kind of investigation work on like the history of it, or is that something you do afterwards?
I don't do no investigations. Obviously, you know the stories of big places like Thursday East Drive. You know what's happened. You watch the films. If you went to Alcatraz, you know what happened there. You know them sort of places. I know if I've heard about them or watched movies and whatever. But other than that, no, I've never done no investigation. No prior research on it.
No, because I mean, I don't like to know anything before going to places. I think, you know, like if you know a notorious person that lived in a place before you go there, are you then going to be listening out for that rather than
probably
hearing it? Like, you know, if you've got like your voice recorders doing an EVP, you know, are you going to be going, okay, like, you know, I know that there was a guy here called Steve. So is there anything that sounds even slightly like Steve?
Like Steve, yeah. So that probably would. Well, then, yeah, that would like, it's kind of like feeding words into your mind.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if it did actually say Steve and you didn't know that guy's name was Steve, would you have heard it say Steve?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm the same. I don't like knowing nothing about places. I say the Talbot Hotel, that was not even frightening. That was a team before. That was my first ever place I ever went to.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know what a bloody cat ball was really. You know, I always knew about paranormal, believed in it, but it was my first investigation. And to see all that in front of me and literally witness that shadow out there, that made me want to drill into it more. And that's what really got me started on it.
Yeah, because I mean, I've always been sort of the opinion that I think you should have one person in your team that does do all the research before you go, but not say anything to anyone.
No, I disagree because then they could still feed that in.
See, I'd
Do you know
see
what I mean?
if that person was me in my team, I wouldn't feed anything. I wouldn't say
But
anything.
what if you were on the Ouija board though, and that came out, and it actually wasn't you, but we knew that you did that research? We'd be like,
Yeah.
it's got to be him. You know what I mean?
I suppose if you're the
Hello, can you hear me?
if you're the person that's done the research, I suppose you avoid then. You're just then sort of there to sort of almost guide and give those definitive answers, because I always think afterwards, you know, like I don't know, say you've got your hex come out and it says, "Oh, Barry," and you just go, "Okay, what's the significance of Barry?" You might have someone that says, "Oh, you know, like let's see if we," and then I don't know later after Barry, I don't know, like knife comes out. You might just go, "Oh, you know, it's just the hexcom throwing out random words." It does that. But if you've got someone there that already knows the history of the place, it goes, "Actually, you know, it's been reported there is a bloke called Barry who lived here who stabbed his wife with a kitchen knife, or was stabbed by his wife with a kitchen knife, or you know, whatever." You can.
I think that's going back to more Most Haunted type of stuff. You know, that's what they do, and that sort of things. I just think it's more fun. We used to get together after investigations, go through research and all that together. I think it's a lot more fun, and you get a lot more of a buzz from it. If the next day you're all checking your EVPs, you're like, okay, I heard this on mine, I heard this on mine, and then someone looks it up, then they're like, shit, you know, Barry did actually kill someone with a knife there. We had Barry and knife come out on the XCOM. It's all on video, you know. Then you're like, wow.
That's what I was saying earlier. You know, if that's coming out at 1:30 in the morning, you just go, "Oh, it's just the hexcom throwing out random words." You might not have remembered that it threw out Barry and knife. You know, just as an example there, if you've not written it down or whatever.
Which I suppose that's why I look at it differently, because I did everything live. I don't like doing live now. I don't like live investigations anymore because it does take your focus away.
Yeah.
From like I'm more focused on reading the bloody comments than I am what's going on over there, and it took me a few years to learn that. But you just said, you know, we don't forget that these words, XCOM or whatever it is, then send us clips and say, you know, Barry did come out. You know, Barry stabbed him with a knife, and look at this, Dale, look at this. So yeah, swings and roundabouts. I'd rather not know nothing.
There's no right or wrong way of doing it.
There's no right or wrong way, but if you wanted it to be more entertaining, like Most Haunted did, then that's why they had that historian with them and the medium with them, so they could all put their point across when things did come out. But then again, Derek Okoro was saying all this stuff, and his lives, everyone loved it. He got found out to be fake, didn't he? Like in the end of the shows.
Yeah.
So he's better off just going in blank, I think.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, like, hats off to you if that's the way you prefer to do it. Like I say, I think it could be better if you have got someone there that already knows the history that can sort of,
or if
not
someone
necessarily
did know,
guide you, but then.
Yeah, I mean, if someone did know, I'd rather not know that they know.
Yeah.
And I'd rather not know that they've even done any research on it.
Oh, fair enough.
You know what I mean, but that's just me. I say people see them differently, but
yeah, absolutely. I do want to mention as well. Have you ever had anything like really, really strange happen that you've? Because I've got an example that I want to talk about. It's a little bit of a selfish question because I've got one I want to talk about. Do you want me to do mine first?
If you want to, I was going to say, got asked that question yesterday on the radio again. So it's all fresh in my mind. So yeah, do yours first if you want.
Right. So I had a voice and I was doing like voice recordings. I think it was at Graiseley. I was with Ricky again, so he can sort of vouch and verify this. And we thought we'd heard something, not on the voice recorder, but just generally. And we're like, okay, we'll play it back. And I played back, and the voice recorder went mad. It was playing like loads of random sounds, and it was like a whisper. You know when people say it's like a whispering demon? And they say, oh, it's like a demon whispering something. It was like that, but
like
really...
the old, was it?
Yeah, it was like that, but really loud. And I was like, what the hell? And then it said file corrupt on the voice recorder. I turned the voice recorder off, turned it back on, and played it back again, and it played absolutely fine. And I was like, that's so weird that we just had that. Oh, have we just heard something? And when we've played it back on the voice recorder, it's had that really weird thing. Then the says the file's corrupted. We've turned it off and back on, gone to play it back, and it's played fine. And the thing we thought we heard, we then couldn't hear on the recording either. But we both swore that we'd heard it.
That's happened to me a lot of times over the years, and I've never thought about it like that. I've just presumed it just happened there and then. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very corrupting itself, but yeah, it is. Obviously, spirits can mess about with the electrical devices and all that, so you can't rule it out. It's a shame no one was recording when you listen back to that.
I know. It was literally just a spur of the moment. Oh, did we just hear that? Let's check. So we didn't even think to sit and record that either.
Well, I think some things, like I say, just can't explain. So for mine, my little weird story, paranormal, I don't know. Was it something that was looking out for me? But potentially it saved my life, this story. So I was I used to live with a friend at my brother's house down not near to me, like he lives in America. He had like a house over in England, and we were renting a room out each.
Okay. And
we were just sitting down at probably about something to 10. We're just ready to get to bed, and we was like, turn this off in 5 minutes and get to sleep. And all of a sudden the fire alarm started beeping, as if to say like beep, like low battery. I looked up, took it out, the batteries are low. I was like, we'll change them tomorrow. I ain't got none at the moment. We'll just take them out and change them tomorrow. 5 minutes or so left of the program on the TV, and we started hearing fire sirens, like proper sirens going off. I was like, what the hell's that? And searching around the house, like, I don't know what this could be. Ended up being my son's old fire truck, which was beyond the sofa. He'd been there for like 5 or 6 years, hadn't been touched, hadn't been moved. Same spot, still in the bag, wrapped up, hadn't been knocked or nothing. No one was even sat at that chair that it was behind. That went off. Like, shit, that's weird. We just laughed about it. Went over, went to turn the telly off, and beyond the TV, you could smell singeing. The white plug socket had totally melted. Like it had dissolved. And we had to get a spark out the next day. But I mean, like I was saying about it yesterday, if that fire alarm hadn't have gone off, if that fire siren hadn't have gone off, potentially we'd have still known about it. But to me, I saw it as like a bit of a warning.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, is it someone looking down on me, setting both of those off to say, look, this is going to happen. You took them bloody batteries out that fire alarm now. Nothing's going to go off. You're just going to die, like. Or is it something telling me to take the batteries out, trying to cause harm, and then the fire truck was something good, trying to counteract that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because that made us then like a more alert late at night.
Yeah.
Obviously, we was tired, dropping off and all that. So that was a weird one for me.
It's really strange, isn't it? And like, yeah. I'm openly a skeptic. And you'd get some skeptics that are just telling you, oh, it's just coincidence. And I hate the word coincidence because it doesn't actually explain anything. You know, like, as much as I'm a skeptic, rarely hear
things like that.
It's a coincidence.
It says coincidence, but it's a coincidence that possibly saved 2 people's lives that night.
Yeah, exactly. I mean? So. And, you know, like, coincidences happen, but even as a skeptic, I try not to hide behind coincidence as my explanation.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm trying to debunk stuff, I won't just go, oh, that's just a coincidence. I'll try and look, you know, if I can't reasonably explain it, I won't turn and go, oh, it's just a coincidence. I'll go, okay, I'll believe that then.
That's weird. They'd be like, that's weird, but wow. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? As if that happened. But...
And I do think, that's where I feel I'm different to other skeptics. There are a lot of skeptics that will just say, "Oh, it's a coincidence," and just use that as an explanation. But I try and
Do you think
avoid
you'd have said that though before you got into being a paranormal investigator, or would you have been? Would you have said like what the other skeptics would say? That's a coincidence. You know what I mean? Before you became a believer.
I feel like I might have said it was a coincidence more readily. I might have just sort of more easily gone, "Oh yeah, it's a coincidence." But sort of the longer I've been doing this, and obviously meeting other people that do it, and other teams, and meeting other skeptics, and it sort of opened my eyes to sort of the way lots of different people are with it, and skeptics. I do find on the vast majority of them do hide behind the word coincidence when they can't explain something.
Yeah.
It's almost like that's their get out of jail free card. Someone goes, "All right," and explain that, and they just go, "Coincidence."
Yeah, that's rubbish. I'm just lucky that's happened. Yeah, it's coincidence, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But people like that.
Do you know what it is to me?
Never
Do you know
going
what
to
it is
change
to
their
me,
minds.
but when they turn and go, "Oh, coincidence," it's when we were kids at school and someone would go, "Oh, your mom," like that's not a comeback. It's
them people that they can't prove you're wrong and they don't want to be wrong themselves.
Yeah.
That's the coincidence people.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I think we're going to tie up. I mean, next time we see you, we'll be at an investigation together. I'm sure that'll be announced at a later date, but that should be a good one. Is there anything you want to ask or say or anything before we go? Anything you want to push out, promote from pages or anything like
that? No, just obviously if you're listening and you're not a member of Amanda's Paranormal Haven, seek it out on Facebook. That's the group that I'm part of now. We used to be called Black Country Paranutters. So, if that's a group you've been following and can't seem to find, it's because we've just had a name change.
And I am with them as well.
Yeah.
Listening on YouTube and Spotify. One thing I will say about that, is that the right one, Alan? Because the page doesn't get used. It's the group, isn't it? There's two different names in there. One's spiritual, one's not. Am I right?
I'm not 100% sure. I think it's the group. I think the group's called Amanda's Paranormal Haven.
So you got Amanda's Spiritual Paranormal Haven. That's not the main one. If you want to get chatting to people, it's a group which is Amanda's Paranormal Haven.
Yeah,
I think you probably have to join and they'll probably have to accept. I'm not sure how groups work, but
it's a join request. I don't think there's questions or anything set up, or if there is, they're really easy, simple ones. So
no, of course. Then thank you for joining us, Alan. We'll see you next time. If anyone does want to see Alan back again on maybe a live stream this time on Facebook, drop in the comments below on YouTube, Facebook, or Spotify, wherever it is. I do read everything and check out every comment. So let us know and we'll get him back on for a live stream and you can ask him some questions yourself. But we will catch you all soon and thank you for watching.
Thanks, Burke.